Pacific and of course these alleged financial troubles they might be going through. I remember a time, I think it was a year ago or more than that, when we had that conversation on this channel. We were talking about an industry insider who came with the information that in fact they would be laying off several employees as well as letting go certain artists. And of course, when we had that conversation, a lot of you guys, well, some of you came in the comment section and you said it's just, we are being delusional. Nothing like that is going to happen. They have got a very, big artist on their label. And you guys were referring to Advolvo BBL and you guys were making it seem like, she by herself would be able to generate enough revenue to keep that record label alive. That was your logic. That how could they go broke, when Advolvo BBL just did this, when Advolvo BBL just did this, when they have a lot of other artists. But your focus, obviously, because it's a record label associated with Advolvo BBL, you guys were like, it could never happen. But actually, it seems it's happening. Now, just to take you back a little bit, let me play the video that I'm talking about from that industry insider.
Breaking news. More blood spilt at Atlantic. 50 artists dropped from the label today, according to Ray Daniels. Not to mention Hits Magazine reporting that Julie Greenwald is running around the hallways like a chicken with her head cut off, spilling blood everywhere and putting everybody on the spot. Look, I don't know what's going on. The only thing that I know is it's much worse than earlier reported, because they're even hitting up Nigerian billionaire, I forgot his name, Ogalisi, I think his name was, Ogunlisi. I hope I'm saying that right, but they've even been trying to get him to invest in the record business right now. I mean, streaming is flat. It's not growing. There's no catalog. There's no money coming in, and you're making these massive cuts. I mean, why would you invest in Atlantic Records right now? It's obvious they can't manage a company. You know what I mean? Look, I mean, and there's talks of Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars and them needing the money from the billionaires so that they can stabilize and sign these artists so they have records coming out. I mean, look, the smarter thing would for Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars would to be go independent and find an outside investor. And by the way, if you guys do, I know just the person to go to. But anyways, yeah. And apparently Julie and Leor were going at it at one point. I didn't even know this. Apparently Leor stabbed Julie in the back when he was going for Max's job when Max was on the way out. I mean, this is Days of Our Lives type stuff.
Well, there you heard that, you guys. There you heard that. I hope that refreshed your memory. Speaking about we told you so or she told you so, let us talk about the Pink Lady. At this point, you guys might as well just call her the prophetess or something, because everything that she says does eventually come to light. Because in 2024, this is what she had to say about Pacific. And as usual, people called her bitter. People said she's delusional. Oh my God, she's on a sea rant. And she said that is exactly why they are going bankrupt now. She was referring to Pacific. And you guys, once again, did not want to accept that because, well, it was coming from Nicki Minaj. And what's the popular thing to do when she says something? Make it seem like she's delusional, hallucinating, and she's just on a sea ranch. So you said that and you dismissed it. Only for it to come out now that, in fact, Pacific is going through really, really difficult times. Now, when Lizzo spoke about it and we came on here again just these past weeks to say that something is happening at Pacific, you guys said, oh, you have started. Now you don't like Lizzo. Oh my God, it's just Lizzo. It's not the whole record label. And when the People's Advocate came out and we were like, the budget is not giving what it was giving in the early years of her career, you guys were like, oh, you're just being a hater. And then she herself came out publicly and said that, listen, I've had to supplement some funds myself for the tour. And we were like, why would you do that? Where is Atlantic? Because I mean, over the course of her career, Atlantic has been known to be her savior financially. Okay, she's been in rooms that, in my own opinion, I do believe, are questionable for her to be in. And people have always said that, well, certain people have paid for her to be included in those rooms, to be accommodated in those rooms. So surely if bloggers were getting a piece of the pie at the beginning of the said career, I mean, that record label wouldn't have otherwise had any issues supplementing any money for your touring. That's just my logic, because in my own opinion, paying for media personalities is not really important, okay? It's more important to fund an artist's career than to pay for opinions, in my own opinion. Okay, so that being said, that in itself was very telling, the fact that, the budget for the videos, and I remember when she went on and on about bongos and how much they spent there, and it was just giving Atlantic doesn't have it like it used to anymore. And you guys still chose to call it delusion when we said it. But now several artists are actually coming out and they are notifying their fans of their departure from the record label. I think Ed Sheeran has made the announcement of his departure, and he said in a post, it was very professional actually. I have to give him his props for that statement. He said, this isn't a disgruntled artist leaves record label type of situation. This is a boy who started as a teenager on the company with different priorities, to the father of two men who exist now, who feels like he needs a shift and change in the way he does things professionally. And he also said, I leave the company with so much love and gratitude for everything we've ever achieved together, of course, he has to make it professional because otherwise, in one way or the other, they will catch you on the other corner. So, of course, you have to frame it like, oh my God, it's just a decision that I'm making. You cannot talk about the financial struggles. You cannot talk about that. But that in itself is very telling of what's happening. Not only that, Money Long also came out with a couple of things to say about Atlantic, but I will talk about that later. However, it is clear that the restructuring is already happening, and of course, people are blaming different things. Some people are saying that when you pay your artist ways into everything, this is the result. Because I also strongly believe that at a certain point in time, they forgot they were a business. They invested too much into trying to settle scores and trying to prove points and trying to have big artists. I say that in quote on paper. The feeling of, oh, our artists are big, are massive, but financially and in your pockets, it's not reflecting. Okay, and I don't understand why they would run a record label like that because after all has been said and done, it is still a business that requires money. To function. So let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think could have resulted into this, plight that they are now facing. I will also say that it seems like they are taking the first steps when it comes to management. I think last time we were talking about how James was allegedly, Elliot's son, not James, my God. What's his name, the boy? We spoke about him, I think a year ago, and we were talking about how the father had allegedly put him in charge to try and bring back in Atlantic in a profitable state. And I also wanted to say that the likes of Mike Kaiser, I feel like there was a time where they were borderline acting like hooligans instead of professionals, instead of business people. You guys remember the time they were stalking Nicki Minaj and all of that. And now I actually believe the allegations that they wanted a joint tour with Nicki Minaj. They were just desperate the whole time. And it's sad, really. And that brings me back to the projection once again because it appears whatever that, that girl is going through in her life, there's always projection. Now I'm beginning to feel like she's probably that type of a person, a person who could be going through the worst season of their lives, but they find consolation in other people's plights. Like, she could be going through the worst, and then to comfort herself, she probably looks around and she looks for ways to say, oh, this person is also going through that, because it's not possible that everything she ever put on Nicki Minaj is happening in her life, down from the personal matters to the finance matters to the record label matters. Like, it's really just so particular. That being said, her lapdog decided to come in the conversation and defend Pacific. Now, when people were talking about, the brocation and everything surrounding that record label, guess who decided to come to Atlantic's defense? It is Ken, okay? He said, yeah, literally will believe anything as long as it's about someone you dislike. Just a bunch of dumb bees telling each other exactly. And so that was right around the time when the conversation was happening. And, other people were like, this is the reason why Advovo BBL might be going broke and this and that. And then someone said, but we're screaming JT a lapdog. What is this? You work for Atlantic too? And then he said, yes, I do actually. What's the problem? And that really puts a lot of things into perspective as well, because after he said that, he immediately deleted. Because for those of you who do not know, this so-called lapdog used to be a pro Nicki Minaj fan. And all of a sudden, right around the time when Advovo BBL was coming out, this man switched sides and became an Advovo fan. So do you see now how that looks? In as far as people thinking that Pacific was all over the place, stealing any and everyone who seemed to have aligned themselves with Nicki Minaj before, down to the makeup artist. Because, if you're overspending even on basic things like makeup and hairstyling, just so you can compete with Nicki Minaj, you are bound to go broke, to be honest. They were paying for very unnecessary things. There are rumors that allegedly, even some media personalities on YouTube, allegedly, and let me not tell you my story about how heartbroken I was as a going to school during that time. When I saw some of my favorite entertainment YouTubers here just literally turn, like, they literally did I don't know what angle that is, but it was so sad. All of a sudden, they became anti-Nicki Minaj. They were going to Advovo BBL birthday parties. Like, you could tell, it wasn't really authentic. It wasn't organic. You could tell that the shift was just way abrupt and way too much. So indeed, if they were getting incentivized for opinions, that's unnecessary expenditure. You are spending more for a hairstylist, because then you have to convince that hairstylist to drop the current artist that he or she was working with. If you're overspending even for a makeup artist, you have to do the same thing. If you're overspending for hair, because remember, you're trying to steal a look popularized by someone who's been in the industry and generating income for close to a decade. And you are doing this for an artist that is just upcoming, that's just starting, that hasn't really generated any money for you, because let's not act like those bust downs that Nicki was rocking were not expensive. So you are overspending on all those three things in as far as the looks are concerned. Now, in order to shift people's opinions, you also need to overspend on buying opinion, because before then, majority of the commentary was organic. It was authentic, okay? People in the female rap space were not really truly buying for opinion like the way that we witnessed during those years. So if you're going to spend on that as well, now you need to pay the T-plug this, now you need to pay Instant Brew this, now you need, it was a lot of spending, okay? Now you're spending for that opinion as well. And you also have to appease different other media personalities on different platforms. You have to pay your way into that. Not only that, you have to pay ghostwriters as well. Okay, those that are not credited. It means you have to pay them directly. Radio, you have to pay for airplay. All that expenditure for an artist that hasn't had any solid return. What type of an investment is this? Not only that, you probably need to pay for the awards. You probably need to. Paying your way into awards, paying your way into discussions, paying your way into literally everything. So how can you not have financial troubles? In my own opinion, I feel like it was probably a situation where people were failing to just move over their losses, like just literally discontinue and realize that we probably made the wrong decision. It's not going to happen. There's not going to be monopolization of the female rap space from our artist. I think if they had realized earlier on that this is never going to happen, if they had realized earlier on that they were never going to get the biggest market share of female rap as long as Nicki Minaj is there, if they had accepted their fate earlier on, some things could have been avoided earlier on, in my own opinion. Because I feel like Nicki was really the downfall of the entire business plan. They banked everything on, if we push out a new Nicki Minaj, a Timu version of Nicki Minaj out there, we're going to take all the people that used to be the Bubs, and they will be, that person's fans, and she will become the Nicki Minaj, for our record label. And so they were probably counting all the revenue that Nicki Minaj has made over the years, and they were like, using that as a benchmark for their investment, okay? Hypothetically using Nicki's figures as figures that, their artist would be able to make. So they were not hesitant in spending as much, in my own opinion. But what they didn't consider is that Nicki Minaj was doing a lot of the things herself. All the positive commentary that she was getting, she wasn't paying anything. It's simply people that were amazed and mesmerized by her talent. Okay, look at me right now. It's very easy for me to listen to a Nicki Minaj album and give my opinion authentically because it's genuinely enjoyable. But if you probably wanted me to say something nice about Advovo BBL songs or I don't know, Trim song, you would need probably to incentivize me because, like, why am I lying? That's what they didn't realize. In order to praise that, it was necessary. The bloggers required the money for their, for their artist. But when it comes to Nicki Minaj, that wasn't an expense on her side. It never was. It never will. She will never have to pay people for opinion. Because it's authentic, it's easy to give authentic opinion and leave her still looking talented. And that's all she ever cared about. So she didn't have that expense, number one. Number two, the makeup artists, the bust downs and the costumes, the wardrobe and stuff like that. It's something that she gradually did. She didn't just wake up being over the top, a fashionista and all of these things. She didn't just wake up proving a point that I'm a fashion girl. She didn't wake up doing that. She did her things gradually at her own time. And that is the disadvantage of being someone who's chasing another person because now you're working on their pace. Everyone who signed Nicki Minaj didn't bleed a lot of money, at the same time, the way that Pacific was doing. Let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think about this. How do you think the record label is going to be like after this restructuring? I do hope that amongst the people that we let go of is Mike Kaiser because I don't like that man. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing that we're going to be talking about. Still talking about Pacific. Let's talk about what Money Long had to say about their way of working and how they were snaking people out of their rights and, just paying them what they deserve. This is what Money Long had to say. Let me insert that.
Cool. So I didn't expect that last video to go so crazy like it did. I feel like it warrants a little bit of context, specifically Atlantic Records. I'll name you 3 times that this happened. So this is the first time. I'm going to do a second video. I'm going to do a third video. First time, I write a song. The song is called Timber. Love it. They fall in love with the record. Me and Brianna had a great time in the studio writing a song. Brianna's also. They're like, oh, we want to give it to Flo. As in Flo Rida. Oh my God, like this is incredible. I don't know what happened. The song ended up on Pitbull. About 2 weeks before the song gets ready to come out, they hit me up saying, hey, Ben, I'm not going to say your last name, Ben, who used to work at Atlantic, calls me and says, hey, we need you to come cut some vocals. What does that mean? In my mind, you need my voice on the song. Cool. They still haven't said anything. So I go, and I'm hearing somebody else's vocals on my song. I'm like, what is this? I'm hearing this part. Woo. When I wrote it, I said, whoa. Where the woo came from? They're like, oh, well, she couldn't sing it like you. So we had her change it to woo. And now we want you to go in and sing the woo underneath her. Because your vocals are underneath her on the hook, on the whole song. And so if you don't sing the woo, it's going to sound different. And we need to have the same feel. That's the problem that I have. You want it to feel a certain way, but you want it to look that way. But you want it to feel this way. Nah, player. I didn't get paid, among other things on the business side that just were not handled properly. Not to mention, later on, there's a copyright claim on the song. Said artist's mother was trying to get publishing on the song, and she didn't write it. Not one word. Yeah, song came out. The rest is history. The only reason why I was even in the studio because my Karen bought me flowers and sent me on vacation because that's the only way that he could get me to show up because they always do stuff like this, specifically.
Well, there you heard that, you guys. There you heard that. Now, moving on to the next thing that we're going to be talking about, let us talk about Cousin Sloth. It appears Cousin Sloth is letting us know that she has a collaboration with one of Destiny's Child, members, and I'm just like, who made that be? It's definitely not Beyonce, because if it were Beyonce, she would have probably said it's Beyonce. I don't think that it's going to be Beyonce, because I mean, even Bongo 2 is not getting any collaborations at the moment. So I don't think that Cousin Sloth would be getting anything from Beyonce, especially right now that she's feeling really big, and Megan fans are not happy with her. You know that Beyonce listens to Bongo 2 fans. Beyonce listens to to Megan fans. They even say that Megan is the one who introduced Glorilla to Beyonce. So I think it is safe to say that because Cousin Sloth and Bongo 2 are not cool anymore, Beyonce will not be working with Cousin Sloth, because Megan won't like it, and I think she's afraid of Megan. Yeah, of course I'm being sarcastic and stupid, but really I still don't think that it's Beyonce. Now, when this was being discussed, people automatically started to say that it is Kelly Rowland because she doesn't have anything going on for herself. And I was like, you guys are so mean. People are like, okay, it has to be Kelly Rowland. Who else has got the time to be doing a song with Cousin Sloth? It's obviously Kelly Rowland. And I personally beg to differ. I know that Kelly is well known for giving, the collaborations and all of these things. That's what she really has going for her. I understand that. But this time, I don't think so. I think it's Michelle Williams, because isn't she the one who sings gospel and Cousin Sloth's name is Gloria Hallelujah? It would only make sense that they make a song together. Didn't she do another gospel song with, who was that person that she I think she won an award or something and people were not happy with it. Yeah, so I think it might actually be Michelle Williams, because her name is Cousin Hallelujah Gloria. So of course I'm being silly, but anyway, let me know in the comment section what you think about that. Speaking about Kelly Rowland, you guys, did you see her performance when she was pretending to care for the people and she had the face like, oh, what's going on there? Are you okay? And people were like, the whole time she just forgot her lyrics and now she's acting like she cares about the fans. And I'm like, you guys, stop with the Kelly stuff. Like, why do you guys do that? Okay, stop it. I wish you could see my face as I'm recording this, because really, it's giving stop it. I like it. Okay, but yeah, really. It's a very funny video in my own opinion. But then again, it's just me. Thank you very much, you guys, for watching, and thank you very much for making it this far. If you have not already, what are you waiting for? Smash that subscribe button and do turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified each and every time that I post. Until my next one, see you.